My son was the one who finally said it out loud. Not a stranger on the internet. Not my ex-wife. Not my friends who've quietly muted me on social media. It was my 17-year-old kid, standing in our kitchen with a cereal bowl in his hand, breathing hard like he'd just run up the stairs. "You know," he said, voice shaking, "I think politics matter more to you than I do." He didn't yell. That almost made it worse. The dishwasher hummed. The TV in the living room quietly leaked a news anchor's voice. Something about another election, another scandal, another breaking story that would barely last the weekend. I had my phone in my hand. Of course I did. Thumb hovering over a notification from a group chat called Democracy Defense Squad. There was a moment where I could have chosen differently. I could have put the phone down, looked him in the eye, and said, "No, that's not true. Tell me why you feel that way." Instead, I glanced at the screen. Just for a second. Just long enough. His face changed. "Right," he said, the word cracking. "Got it. That answers my question." "Oliver," I started. But he was already walking away. Cereal bowl still in his hand, milk sloshing over the edge. He shut his bedroom door with a soft, final click. Not a slam. The anchor's voice in the other room kept talking about our children's future. And I stood there, phone in my hand, realizing I'd spent the last 10 years shouting about my son's generation without actually listening to my own son. This is the story of how politics took over my life, how it almost cost me my kid, and what it looked like to try and put those pieces back together without pretending the world isn't still on fire. Chapter 1. How It Became Everything. My name is Mark. I'm 52, divorced, and until very recently, my hobbies were reading political news, arguing about political news, and staying up until 2 in the morning scrolling more political news. If you ask my son, he'd add, canceling on plans because of politics, eating dinner in front of political panels, turning every car ride into a lecture about what's at stake this election. It didn't happen overnight. I wasn't born with a sign in my hand and a CNN alert wired into my nervous system. It started in a way that felt reasonable. My son, Oliver, was 8 when the first big political earthquake hit. You can pick your year, there have been several, but for me it was the election that felt like it changed the rules. You know the one. The year when everyone said, that can't possibly happen, and then it did. I remember watching the results come in on TV, a beer sweating in my hand, Oliver asleep on the couch next to me. He had school in the morning. I should have carried him to bed hours earlier. Instead, I sat there, eyes glued to the swing states, watching the map shift from one color to another. When the outcome became clear, I felt a mix of disbelief and something else I didn't want to name: excitement. Not because I agreed with what was happening, far from it, because suddenly history wasn't something in a book. It was in my living room. It was happening to us. "This is bad," I whispered, more to myself than to my sleeping kid. "This is really bad. I have to do something." I think a lot of people had that moment. Some joined marches. Some started donating. Some checked out entirely. I joined everything. I went to protests. I signed petitions. I joined local groups with names like Citizens for Sanity and Parents for a Better Future. At first, it felt good. Healthy, even. I met people. We printed signs. We yelled until our voices cracked. I took Oliver to one of the early marches. He sat on my shoulders, waving a small cardboard sign that said, "Be kind," letters wobbly in marker. "You're going to tell your kids about this someday," I said, walking down Main Street with thousands of others. "How you were there." He'd nodded, eyes wide, soaking it all in. He was 9. He liked the chance. It felt like the right thing to do. What I didn't notice was how slowly the rest of my life, my actual, daily life, started rearranging itself around the cause. I stopped watching movies, stopped reading novels. Why would I read fiction when reality is this insane? I joked. I canceled poker night because we were phone banking. Stopped meeting up with old friends because they don't get it. They're not engaged. My ex-wife, Jenna, noticed before I did. "You're turning into a walking push notification," she said once, dropping Oliver off. "Do you ever talk about anything else?" "There's nothing else," I said. "Not right now. Have you seen the news?" "Yes," she said. "And I also see our son, who would like to talk about the game he just played." Oliver had stood there in the doorway, soccer ball in hand, shirt grass-stained, looking between us. "I can do both," I said defensively. "I can care about the world and my kid." She'd sighed. "I know you think that," she said. "I'm just not sure he feels it." Back then, I wrote it off as jealousy. Jenna was always less politically wired than I was. She voted, she donated sometimes, but she didn't pace the living room at midnight refreshing polls. Somebody has to pay attention, I told myself. Somebody has to fight. This is about Oliver's future. That's the line I kept feeding myself. This is for him. This is about him. I didn't ask him if he wanted me to fight like that. Chapter 2. The Great Debate. That wasn't. The night everything really cracked, there wasn't even anything historic happening on TV. It was a Tuesday. I'd agreed weeks earlier to go to Oliver's school for something called Senior Projects Night. He was in 11th grade. Each student had worked for months on a research project, and tonight they were presenting. Oliver's project was about social media and loneliness. He'd told me about it in bits and pieces, statistics, interviews he'd done, charts he was weirdly proud of. "You'll come, right?" he'd asked, the first time he mentioned the event. "Of course," I'd said. "Wouldn't miss it." I thought that was enough. Like saying the words guaranteed the action. The morning of the presentation, I woke up to 12 unread messages in my Democracy Defense group chat. There was going to be a debate that night. Big one. Televised town hall between two candidates in a special election everyone was calling the most important of our lifetime, even though they said that every year. "We're having a watch party at HQ," someone texted. "Bring friends. We'll do live fact-checking and phone bank during commercial breaks." I stared at the screen. My heart did that little jump it does when you feel included. I had become a regular at HQ. I knew which extension cords were safe, which coffee mugs were chipped, who brought the good snacks. They'd started using my last name like I was a coach. "Davis, what do you think of this slogan?" I typed, "I can't tonight. My kid has a school thing." Then, because the silence in the chat felt like judgment, even though, logically, I knew no one was staring at their phones waiting for my reply, I added, "Might join late if I can." "Legend," someone wrote back. "Priorities," someone else added, with a thumbs up emoji. I took that as approval, not sarcasm. All day, at work, my brain bounced between the two events. I pictured Oliver standing by his poster board, explaining his project to parents and teachers. Then I pictured the candidates on stage, spewing half-truths, and the HQ crew yelling at the screen, fingers poised over laptops to correct every sentence. If we don't push back, the lies win, I told myself, sipping bad office coffee. This is about integrity, about the future, about kids like Oliver. In the late afternoon, my group chat lit up again. "Media might swing by HQ," someone wrote. "Local news wants footage of concerned citizens reacting in real time." My chest tightened. News. I'd been on local radio once, briefly. A 5-minute segment where I said things like, "Active citizenship" and "Facts matter." It had felt good. Too good. What if they wanted someone on camera tonight? What if I could be that person? What if I finally did something that mattered? Around 5 p.m., I got a text from Oliver. "Hey, are you still coming tonight?" I replied without thinking. "Yes. What time again?" "6:30, he wrote. "Jim, my board is by the back wall." I sent a thumbs up. It takes 20 minutes to get from my office to his school, 30 with traffic. At 6:05, I was still at my desk, watching a clip of one of the candidates saying something outrageous. At 6:10, my friend Rachel from HQ called. "You coming?" she said. "We need your angry fact-checking energy." "I have Oliver's thing," I said. "Might come after." "You can watch the debate with us," she said. "We'll have pizza. Community man, we have to show up." I looked at the clock. I could still make it, if I left now. "I'll see how fast I can get across town," I said. I grabbed my coat, my laptop, my keys. As I stepped out of the building, my phone buzzed. "I'm setting up," Oliver texted. "People are already walking around. This is kinda scary, lol." I typed, "You'll be great. On my way." The bus was late. The entire city decided to move at glacial speed. At 6:35, I was still 2 stops away. At 6:40, stuck in a line of cars, white brake lights stretching ahead, my brain did the math. If I got off and ran, I might make the last 20 minutes. Maybe. My group chat dinged again. "HQ is already buzzing," Rachel wrote, along with a photo of people setting up folding chairs, the debate countdown clock on the TV. "You coming?" she added. A familiar, ugly thought slid into my mind. It's just one school event. There will be others. This election is once in a generation. Afterwards, when I replayed this night over and over, this was the moment that burned. I made a choice. I texted Oliver. "Traffic is a nightmare. Might be late. How long does it go?" He replied 2 minutes later. "Most parents are here now." Then, "If you can't, it's fine." It wasn't fine. I told myself it was. I asked the driver to let me off near HQ instead of the school. The office was buzzing when I walked in. People hunched over laptops, typing furiously. Someone shoved a slice of pizza into my hand. The TV blared the network's theme music. "Davis!" Rachel called. "You made it." "Couldn't stay away," I said, trying to ignore the gnawing in my stomach. We watched the debate. We fact-checked, we tweeted, we yelled at the screen. At one point, a camera crew really did sweep through, grabbing shots of us looking engaged. "Say something about why this matters," the reporter urged, shoving a mic in my direction. I opened my mouth and the words spilled out, polished from years of overuse. "This is about our kids' future," I said. "About the kind of country they're going to inherit. We can't sit at home and hope for the best. We have to show up." Somewhere, at that exact moment, my son was probably standing by his project board, looking at the door, hoping it would open. I didn't know that. I didn't want to know that. By the time I left HQ, it was nearly 10. My phone buzzed on the bus. A photo from Jenna. It was Oliver, standing beside his poster. His hair was too long, curling near his ears. He was smiling, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "His presentation went great," she'd written. "He looked for you. I told him you were caught up in something important." I stared at the screen until the bus lurched to my stop. My next message was automatic. "Tell him I'm proud. I'll talk to him tomorrow." She scene-ticked it and didn't reply. Tomorrow turned out to be worse than that night. Chapter 3. You'd rather save the country than show up for me. Oliver came over Thursday, like he always did. We had an arrangement. He spent weekdays with Jenna, weekends with me. It had been that way since the divorce, a rhythm we'd all agreed on. He walked in, dropped his backpack by the couch, and headed for the fridge. "Hey, bud," I said. "How'd senior projects night go? Your mum sent a picture. The board looked great." He didn't answer right away. He took a carton of orange juice out, drank straight from it, then put it back. "Use a glass," I said automatically. He closed the fridge door a little harder than necessary. "Why weren't you there?" he asked. His voice was flat. That scared me more than anger would have. "I got stuck," I said. "Traffic was awful, and then you made a choice," he cut in. "You went to HQ." I blinked. "Your mum told you?" "She didn't have to," he said. "I saw your friend's story. The video? You yelling at the TV with a slice of pizza in your hand? Very patriotic." Heat crawled up my neck. "It was an important night," I said. "That debate." "Yeah," he said. "It was the most important night of our lives, like all the others." I winced. I hadn't realized I'd said that out loud so often. "Oliver," I said, "I'm sorry I missed your presentation. I really am. I thought I could make both. I misjudged it." He stared at me. "You didn't misjudge anything," he said. "You just picked." I opened my mouth to argue, closed it. "Your mum was there," I said instead. "She said you did great." "Of course she was there," he said. "She always is, even when I wish she'd chill. You—" he shook his head. "You're there when it fits your narrative." "My what?" "Narrative," he repeated. "Your story about yourself. I'm the good citizen. I fight for the future. I'm doing this for my kid. It's like a movie in your head. You're the main character." "I'm— what? Background motivation?" "That's not fair," I said, stung. "I do this because I care. About you. About your generation." "You care about an idea of my generation?" he said. "You care about kids on signs, kids in speeches. Think of the children. But when it's just me, standing in a gym holding a laser pointer, you're at HQ eating pizza and yelling at strangers on TV." The accuracy of it made my chest hurt. "I can't just stop caring about the world," I said weakly. "There's too much at stake." "I'm not asking you to stop," he said. "I'm asking you to look at me when I talk. To not roll your eyes when I say I'm tired of being terrified all the time. To come to the stuff you said you'd come to." "I look at you," I protested. "I listen. We talk about issues all the time." "We don't talk," he said. "You talk. You lecture. You send me articles and get mad when I don't read them." He was breathing faster now, color rising in his cheeks. "And when I say I don't want to talk about politics," he continued, "because I had a panic attack in history class after watching a video of wildfires and floods and people yelling about the end of democracy, you say, 'Good. You should be scared. Maybe that will make you act.'" I never said. "You did," he cut in. 2 months ago. Remember? When I told you I was thinking of quitting the climate club because I didn't see the point? You said, 'You don't get to give up, Oliver. It's your future.'" I remembered. Vaguely. It had been a text exchange sandwiched between 3 different news alerts. "I'm trying to push you," I said. "To engage. To fight for something. I don't want you to be apathetic like your father," he said. The silence that followed felt sharp. My dad had been the opposite of me. He thought politics was a racket, voted sometimes, sometimes didn't, watched sports instead of debates. "You hated that about him," Oliver said softly. "You tell that story all the time. How he shrugged at elections and said, 'They're all the same.' How you swore you'd never be like that." "I did," I said. "I do." "Well, congrats," he said. "You're the opposite. You've become the guy who thinks everything is politics. And if I don't care exactly the way you do, You assume I don't care at all. He set the cereal bowl on the counter a little too hard. Milk splashed over the edge. Last week, he continued, my friend invited me to go skating. I said I couldn't because you wanted me to come to that protest. When I told you I was tired, you said, "This isn't about being tired, Oliver. It's about showing up." I want to teach you values, I said. Responsibility. You want to teach me to be you, he said. And when I'm not, you act disappointed. I felt my jaw tighten. That's not true, I said, even though a small, ugly part of me knew it sometimes was. He took a breath. When he spoke again, his voice was calmer, but every word landed like a stone. You know what I think? He said. I think politics matter more to you than I do. He didn't say it like an accusation. He said it like a conclusion he'd been circling for a while. It winded me. That's not true, I said immediately. You're my son. Nothing matters more than you. He gestured toward the living room, where the TV was paused on a news channel, banner frozen at the bottom. Then why? He asked. Do I know the names of every senator you hate, but you keep forgetting the name of the girl I've been dating for 3 months? I opened my mouth, closed it. I'm not asking you to stop caring about the world, he said. I'm asking you to remember that I live in it, that I'm not just the kid you're fighting for. I'm a person, right here, now. He picked up his backpack. Where are you going? I asked, panic flaring. Mum's, he said. I told her I might come back tonight. She's expecting you tomorrow, I said. We agreed. We agreed a lot of things 4 years ago, he said. Things change. Oliver, I need a break from you, he said quietly. From this version of you who's always angry at a screen and never really sees me. Maybe when you figure out how to talk to me like a person instead of a cause, we can try again. He walked to the door. This is ridiculous, I said, desperation leaking into my voice. You're blowing this out of proportion. I missed one event. He turned, hand on the doorknob. That's the problem, he said. To you, it's one event. To me, it's a pattern. And I'm tired of feeling like a campaign slogan instead of your kid. Then he left. No slam, just that soft, terrifying click. Chapter 4. Echo Chambers and Empty Rooms. The first thing I did after Oliver walked out wasn't text him. I wish I could say it was. It was muscle memory. I grabbed my phone and opened the Democracy Defense group chat. You know how that looks, right? When you're in a digital bubble. The blue and green text bubbles, the stream of outrage and in-jokes, the links to articles with headlines like, "You won't believe what they just did." I typed, "Rough night. Teen meltdown. Parenting is wild." It took exactly 5 seconds for the replies to start. Did he say I don't care about politics? My daughter said that once. I confiscated the iPad. Kids these days don't realize how good they have it. At least your son talks to you. Mine just grunts. No one asked what he'd actually said. No one asked why it hurt. Someone sent a meme about boomers versus zoomers arguing at the dinner table. I threw my phone on the couch. The house was quiet. It hit me then, the way my living room sounded without Oliver's presence. No video game sounds leaking under his door. No thump of his footsteps. No off-key humming. The TV remote lay on the coffee table, pointed at the paused news screen. A panel of experts stared back at me, frozen in mid-argument. I saw myself in them, mouth open, hands gesturing, eyebrows drawn. I turned the TV off. The silence roared. I walked down the hall and opened Oliver's bedroom door. He kept some stuff at my place, a second set of clothes, a few posters, school books. Enough to make the room feel like his without making it so permanent my ex thought I was trying to steal him. The bed was unmade, blanket twisted into a knot. An open notebook lay on the desk. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I did it. I read it. At first, I thought it was homework. Notes about social studies, bullet points about polarization, media bias, echo chambers. He'd always been a good student. Then I realized it wasn't for school. At the top of the page, in his slanted handwriting, he'd written, "Things I want to say to my dad but don't know how." I sank into his desk chair. Underneath, he'd listed sentences. "I'm scared all the time, and you act like that's good. I feel like if I disagree with you about anything political, you'll be disappointed in me. When you say you kids need to fix this, I hear, I've given up. It's on you now. That feels like too much. I know the world is messed up. I also want to have a life in it. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be my dad more than a warrior." Halfway down the page, one line was underlined 3 times. "You say you're fighting for my future. I wish you'd show up for my present." I put the notebook down. My eyes burned. You know that feeling when someone holds up a mirror and you realize you've been walking around with spinach in your teeth for 10 years? It was that, but worse. I'd told myself a story. I am a good father because I care passionately about the world my son will inherit. I'd repeated it so often I believed it. Reading his words, I saw the flaw. I had used the world as an excuse to ignore the world inside our house. I called Jenna. She picked up on the second ring. I could hear Oliver's voice in the background, low and muffled. "How bad is it?" she asked, skipping hello. "Bad," I said. "He left." "I know," she said. "He's here." "Can I talk to him?" I asked. "No," she said firmly. "Not tonight. He's raw. And if you talk now, you'll both say things you can't unsay." "That makes me sound like a child," I snapped. "You've both been children about this," she said. "Him with his storming out. You with your, 'I missed one event. What's the big deal?'" I flinched. She knew me too well. "He showed you his notebook?" I asked. "What notebook?" she said. "Nothing," I muttered, ashamed. "You read his journal," she said flatly. "I wasn't snooping," I protested. "It was open. It looked like homework." "Mark," she said. "Come on." "I know," I said. "I know. I shouldn't have. But I'm glad I did." "That's a sentence only you could say," she sighed. "What did it say?" I told her. She was quiet for a long time. "None of this is surprising," she said finally. "He's been trying to say versions of that for years. You've just been too busy fighting with talking heads on TV to hear him." "That's not fair," I said weakly. "It's a little fair," she replied. "Look, I agree with you on most issues. You know that. I voted the same way you did. I'm scared too. But at some point, you turned being informed into a personality, and now your son feels like he has to compete with cable news for your attention." The words hurt because they were true. "What do I do?" I asked. "You do what you tell those volunteers to do," she said. "You organize. You show up. Not at HQ. At his life." "I tried," I said. "I went to his games. I—" "You went to some," she corrected. "You went when it didn't conflict with a march or a town hall or a strategy meeting. You treat his life like a side quest." "I love him," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. "I know," she said, softer now. "He knows too, under all the anger. Love isn't the problem. Attention is." "How do I fix it?" I asked. "You don't fix it with one grand gesture," she said. "You show up, consistently, to the boring, unglamorous stuff. You apologize without giving a 20-minute speech about fascism. You listen when he says he doesn't want to watch the news with you. I can't just stop caring about politics, I said again. It was a reflex now. No one is asking you to, she said. We're asking you to put your phone down at dinner. That's it. Start there. What if he won't talk to me? I whispered. Then you keep showing up anyway, she said. In calm ways, not banging on the doorways. Text him once, not 20 times. Give him space. And maybe talk to someone who isn't a campaign coordinator, a therapist, a group that isn't just people who are as angry as you are. You're saying I'm in a bubble, I said. You live in a bubble, Mark, she said. The password is outrage. We hung up not long after. I sat on Oliver's bed, staring at the posters on the wall, a band I didn't recognize, a movie I'd meant to watch and never did, a print of a painting I only knew because it became a meme once. For the first time in a long time, I didn't reach for my phone. I just sat there. The quiet was loud. Chapter 5. Values, not sides. The next week was rough. Oliver didn't come over that weekend. He texted me once, short and to the point. Taking a break from Dad weekends for a bit. Need some space. It hurt, but the fact that he'd texted at all felt like a small mercy. I wanted to reply with a paragraph. I typed one. I'm sorry I missed your presentation. I'm sorry I've made you feel like a cause instead of a person. I read your notebook. I shouldn't have, but I'm glad I did because it made me realize. I deleted it. I typed, okay, I hear you. I'll be here when you're ready. I'm sorry. I left it at that. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I skipped the HQ meeting. I skipped the Sunday morning strategic brunch. Skipped the group chat for a whole day. I went for a walk without headphones, without a podcast about collapsing democracies. I watched actual people. Kids on scooters, couples arguing quietly, a teenager filming a TikTok dance, an old man feeding pigeons. The world looked smaller and bigger at the same time. On Monday, I called a therapist. It took 3 tries to find one who wasn't fully booked. Apparently, half the country had decided to unravel at the same time. I'm not here to talk about politics, I said in the first session. Well, actually, I am, but not like you think. She smiled. You're here because your son said politics matter more to you than he does, she said. That's what you wrote in your email. I didn't think you'd actually read that, I admitted. I did, she said. It was very earnest. Is that therapist for embarrassing? I asked. It's therapist for your trying, she replied. Her name was Dr. Morales. Mid-40s, calm voice, office full of plants and soft chairs. What do you get from being so engaged? She asked in our second session. Be honest. Beyond I care about the world. I shifted in my seat. I like feeling useful, I said. Like I'm not just yelling at the TV. Like I'm doing something. What else? She pressed. I stared at a framed print on her wall. I like feeling right, I admitted. Smarter than the people who don't pay attention. Morally superior to the ones who don't bother. I like feeling like the adults in the room. That's honest, she said. What does it cost you? My sleep, I said. My peace. Possibly my son. We unpacked it slowly. How I'd grown up in a house where no one talked about anything important. How my father changed the channel when the news got too depressing. How I'd decided, at 15, that I would never look away. How does that 15-year-old feel? She asked. About the fact that he now has a 17-year-old son who thinks his father cares more about being politically right than being emotionally present. Like a hypocrite, I said. Dr. Morales nodded. Maybe we can work with that, she said. Hypocrisy hurts because it touches something true. You clearly have strong values: justice, responsibility, telling the truth. You've applied those outward, to the world. What would it look like to apply them inward, to your family? It feels smaller, I said. Smaller or scarier? She asked. Both, I thought. It's easier to rant about senators than apologize to your kid, she said gently. I laughed. A short, bitter sound. You're not wrong. With her help, I started noticing things. The way my heart raced when I put my phone in another room. The way my hand twitched toward it during any moment of stillness. We're not going to detox you from politics, she said. You'd just relapse. We're going to rebalance, make space for other values: connection, curiosity, humility. Humility, I repeated, like it was a foreign word. Yes, she said. The ability to say, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe my son's experience of this world is different from mine and worth hearing. When Oliver finally texted, a week and a half later, it wasn't some grand opening. Mum says you're in therapy. Is that true? I stared at the screen. Yes, I wrote. Tuesdays at 5. I'm trying to be less of an ass. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. That's good, he wrote. You were very ass. Accurate, I replied. There was a pause. Can we talk? I asked. Not about politics, about us. He took longer this time. Maybe, he wrote. Not today, but soon. It was the first maybe that felt like a yes in disguise. Chapter 6. Showing up for his present. We met, of all places, at a diner. Neutral ground. Public. Less chance of either of us yelling. He picked it. A place with sticky menus, bottomless coffee, and a jukebox that only half worked. He was already in a booth when I arrived, hunched over his phone, headphones around his neck. He'd cut his hair. Shorter now, cleaner around the ears. I almost commented on it. Didn't. Hey, I said, sliding into the seat opposite him. Hey, he replied. We stared at the salt shaker like it held answers. How's school? I asked, then immediately regretted it. It sounded like small talk at a family reunion. Fine, he said. How's saving democracy? I flinched. On pause, I said. I'm on. Reduced hours. He huffed a small laugh. What does that mean? He asked. It means I left the group chat on mute, I said, and told HQ I'm taking a step back. Less late nights, fewer town halls, no more missing your stuff for a panel of people who already agree with me. He frowned. You quit? No, I said. I'm not quitting. I still care. I will probably always care. I'm just changing my job title. To what? He asked. From full-time political warrior to guy who shows up to his kid's life first and politics second, I said. He took that in. That's a long title, he said. I've never been good with brevity, I said. The waitress came, took our order. He got pancakes, I got coffee, and whatever he was having. When she left, I took a breath. I read your notebook, I said. The one on your desk. His shoulders tensed. I know, I added quickly. It was wrong. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. He stared at the table. Which page? He asked. The one that said things I want to say to my dad but don't know how, I said. He closed his eyes. Great, he muttered. So you saw my brain leak. It was the best thing I've read in years, I said. He looked up, startled. Not because it was flattering, I added. It wasn't. It was devastating and true. It held up a mirror I've been avoiding for a long time. He didn't say anything, so I kept going, heart pounding. I'm sorry, Oliver, I said. I'm sorry I've made you feel like a symbol instead of a person. I'm sorry I missed your project night. I'm sorry I've used big fears to justify small neglects. I'm sorry I turned every conversation into a seminar. You didn't sign up to be my student or my cause. You're my son. That should have come first. It didn't. That's on me. He picked at the paper napkin. You're good at speeches, he said quietly, even when you're apologizing. I know, I said. I'm trying to be less polished. Dr. Morales says my brain likes scripts. Who's Dr. Morales? He asked. My therapist, I said. The one you asked about. He nodded slowly. She says I turned politics into a religion, I continued. And you into my favorite sermon illustration. He snorted. A genuine laugh. That sounds like something she'd say, he said. You don't know her, I replied. I feel like I do, he said. You talk in bullet points now. Occupational hazard, I said. The pancakes arrived. He drowned his in syrup. I followed his lead. For a minute, we just ate. This isn't about you watching the news, he said eventually, syrup glistening on his fork. It's about the way you make it my responsibility, too. Like, if I'm not as scared or as angry or as active as you, then I'm failing some test. I know, I said. Dr. Morales calls that weaponizing values, taking something good, caring about justice, and using it like a club on people you love. That sounds like you, he said. I'm aware, I said. He twirled his fork. I'm not apathetic, he said. I care. I read stuff. I watch some of the videos you send. I'm not asleep. I'm just tired. And I want to be allowed to be a teenager sometimes. To care about prom and stupid group chats and music and the girl whose name you keep forgetting. Camila? I said. He blinked. What? Her name is Camila, I repeated. She likes horror movies and hates olives. You met in art class. She wants to be a tattoo artist. I wrote it down after I forgot the first time. I'm trying to remember more. Something softened in his face. You wrote it down? He asked. Yeah, I said. Along with the fact that your favorite band is not, in fact, the one from 10 years ago that I keep mentioning. He rolled his eyes, but he was smiling. I get why you care so much, he said. The climate stuff, the voting rights, all of it. It's scary. I get angry too. But when you say things like, your generation has to fix this, it feels like you've decided you're done. Like it's a relay race and you've tossed me the baton and walked off the track. I stared at him. I didn't realize it sounded like that, I said. Well, it does, he said. And it makes me feel like two things. One, crushed. Two, resentful. Because I didn't screw this up. I was born into it. You're right, I said. I won't say that again. Not like that. What will you say? He asked. I'll say, I'm going to keep doing my part, I said slowly. And ask you what part you want to play, if any. And if you say, I need a break, I'll let that be okay. He nodded slowly. I don't want you to stop caring, he said. That would be weird. You'd probably get depressed. I've seen you when the Wi-Fi goes out during election week. I chuckled. It's not my finest hour. He took a breath. I want you to ask about my stuff too. And not only in relation to politics. Like, if I get into art school someday, I don't want your first reaction to be, cool, you can make protest posters. That's fair, I said. I'll work on that. He took a bite of pancake. Chewed. You know, he said, My project? The one you missed? It was about how constant exposure to political content makes people feel more informed but less able to act. They get paralyzed, overwhelmed, like the only options are yelling or shutting down. Ironic, I said. Very, he replied. I'd like to see it, I said. Your project, if you'll show me. Not because I want to see if you agree with me, because I want to see what you thought, what you found. He studied my face for a moment, searching for sincerity. Yeah, he said finally. I can show you. I still have the slides. We finished our pancakes. On the walk back to the car, he put his hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched against the wind. There's a protest next weekend, I said. Careful. Big one. Climate, voting rights, all of it. Rachel invited us. I told her I wasn't sure if I was going. He raised an eyebrow. You? Skipping a protest? I didn't say I'd skip, I said. I said I wasn't sure. Because that same day, you have your art show at school. You sent me the email. Yeah, he said. I did. Well, I said, I wanted you to know that I'm choosing the art show, even if there's a breaking news banner, even if someone brings pizza and a megaphone. He snorted. Big sacrifice, he said. For me, it is, I replied. For once, I want you to know the choice I'm making before you have to ask. He was quiet. Do you want to come to the protest? I added. No pressure. Just, if you wanted to go together, we could. Sometime. Not as me dragging you. As something we choose together. Or not. He thought about it. Maybe, he said. Can we start with the art show? Yes, I said. We can start there. When I dropped him off at Jenna's, he lingered by the car. You know, he said, I still think politics matter a lot to you. They do, I said. Probably always will. He nodded. That's okay, he said, as long as I don't always come second to them. You won't, I said. Not anymore. And if you ever feel like you do, I want you to tell me before it builds up into a kitchen speech again. He smiled, sheepish. That line was pretty good, though, he said. Politics matter more to you than I do. Very dramatic. It was devastating, I said. 10 out of 10 emotional damage. Good, he said. Maybe I got some of your speech genes. He walked up the path, turned back once to wave. That night, alone in my living room, I did something that used to be unthinkable. I turned the TV off before the news ended. I left my phone in the kitchen. I opened my laptop not to read headlines, but to watch a recording Oliver had sent me. It was his presentation. He stood in front of a slide that said, Politics, Social Media, and the Weight of Constant Crisis. His voice was steady. His hands moved when he talked. He made jokes. People laughed in the right places. At the end, he said, Young people aren't apathetic. We're exhausted. There's a difference. If older generations want us to stay engaged, they have to stop throwing the whole broken system at us like a homework assignment and start showing up for us as actual people. He didn't look at the empty doorway when he said it, but I knew who that line was for. I closed the laptop and sat there in the dark for a while. The world outside was still burning in a dozen ways. Headlines would still be there in the morning. Elections would still be messy. People would still say ridiculous, infuriating things on TV. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I could hold two truths at once. The world is in trouble, and my son needs a father more than he needs a full-time pundit in his living room. Politics matter. So does he. And if I have to choose, on any given Tuesday night, between saving democracy on a folding chair at HQ or sitting in a sweaty school gym watching him talk about the very thing that's kept me up for years, I'm choosing the gym.